what's good, everyone? Welcome to Live Wire Sports Media Motivation Monday edition. Because we definitely gonna need a lot of motivation when it comes to the Indiana Fever. I have three clips in my video today, and one is from the press conference yesterday, and it raised some concerns because a lot of people was, talking about this. Did Caitlin Clark call out Stephanie White about the offense, the tempo, the way the game was played? Because I have two different other clips from two other YouTubers. Um, Mick Talk Hoops, he did a breakdown of the game, or what he did a breakdown of what went wrong with the game. And I have another clip from a young YouTuber, which I think he's the best in the game when it comes down breaking down film of the Indiana Fever, especially when it comes down to the good and the bad. And excuse me, his name is Convos with Carter. You can look him up on YouTube. Now, first I'm gonna get to Caitlin Clark or what she said in this press conference because it raised a lot of eyebrows. Because to me, I feel like if you look at the game, if you're really looking at the game and you're analyzing the game, you can pretty much understand what she's saying. You can look at her body language. You could, because a lot of people could say it's Stephanie White fault. We was better last year, in the second half. Which, and I'm gonna tell you the difference between this team and last year's team, and I'm gonna tell you the difference. And so, but before I even get into that, let's listen to what Caitlin Clark had to say first.
I thought at times we could have played a little bit faster, and I think that's on me, like not conceding in that. We still got to play up tempo. We still got to play fast. But I mean, I thought for the most part we did a lot of stuff that coach wanted us to do, and that wasn't why we lost.
That wasn't why we lost. Wow, shots fired to me. That wasn't why we lost. They still got to play fast, no matter what. They still have to play fast, no matter who's in the lineup, no matter if Caitlin's on the court or not. They still have to play fast. The thing about it is they can't play fast because, as I said before, it's the personnel. It doesn't matter what Stephanie White offense philosophy is. If you're not executing the way you need to, then what's the difference? I haven't, because you could say, hey, well, let Caitlin play the style she played in Iowa. Okay, if you let her play the style she played in Iowa, guess what's going to happen? She's not going to have no running mates with her. Now, as much as we didn't like Nalissa Smith, but guess what? Nalissa Smith and Timmy Fan Bailey ran the floor with her. Even Katie Lou Samuelson ran the floor with Caitlin Clark. They was more of a faster team last year, even though they still didn't have depth on the bench, than this version that we see now. Because guess what? There's only 5 players on this team that could run with Caitlin Clark. Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hall, um, and Aaliyah Boston at times. That's probably it. Everybody else can't run. So you think you're gonna run that same read and react offense with Sydney Colson, Bree Turner, DeWanna Bonner, Natasha Howard? No, you're not gonna do that. The tempo ain't is not gonna be the same. So instead of say, hey, give the ball to Kate and let her do what she do, she's tried that. And you have seen it still slows the game down because once say for instance, if Aaliyah Boston gets the rebound and kicks it to Caitlin, she running up the floor. Nobody's running with her. You see Sophie Cunningham, you see Lexi Hall sprint up the floor. Boom. Or Kelsey Mitchell. Nobody else running with her. This personnel is not made to run with Caitlin Clark. To me, we all thought it was a great idea in the off season. We thought we had all these expectations, but now we starting to look at it and starting to say, hey, These pieces do not fit the style of basketball with Caitlin. And maybe Stephanie White wants to run that way, but she can't because she's handicapped with the personnel that she has. So she has to do what she has to do as a coach to try to put people in position. So I'm gonna play this clip by Make Talk Hoops because he showed the bad side of the Indiana Fever.
Guys, I'm going to make a very quick breakdown, upload on Twitter for anyone who thinks the Indiana Fever play good offense right now. So I'm just going to show this possession here. Key time of the game, 60-61. The Las Vegas Aces have Dana Evans on the floor, a 5'6" player, and are in a switch everything defense. So a competent team screws or doesn't care about any supposed actions they run. They walk into the mismatch. On a switch everything defense, the biggest flaw is that every player has to be able to switch everything. And when you've got a 5'6" point guard that is on the floor, what you should do is, in this scenario, Sydney Colson should just run a straight pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston, force the switch on a 5'6" player onto Aaliyah Boston, escape dribble, bring it back out, find a way to get the ball to Aaliyah Boston in the post, because they have to double down on Aaliyah, and it's either going to free up an open shooter or a basket for Aaliyah every time. Or a foul, maybe. But this is what they do. So, let's take a look at this. So, Sid Colson walks the ball up the floor. For some reason, I think it was meant to be the play, Kelsey Mitchell sets a screen on it for Sid Colson. Why? I don't know. I don't know why Kelsey Mitchell is standing in front of Aaliyah Boston to set a screen. Maybe that's meant to be the action. But Kelsey Mitchell sets a screen for no apparent reason here. And all that they do is, as expected, they're switching everything. They switch the screen. So now the Sid Colson pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston, instead of it switching 5'6" Dana Evans onto Aaliyah Boston, they're now switching 6 foot tall Aaliyah Nye onto Aaliyah Boston, who has up to this point shown a capability of guarding Aaliyah Boston. So they've walked themselves out of a mismatch right here. And then watch what happens next. So Caitlin's off the ball. Kelsey Mitchell, does she dart to the basket? Does she do anything? No, she kind of just walks away. So then, as expected, they run the pick and roll. They switch the pick and roll because they've been switching pick and rolls the entire game. As you can see, 16 seconds to go on the shot clock. There are 4 players on one side of the floor. Sophie Cunningham is telling Kelsey Mitchell to go to the wing, and Sophie Cunningham is probably is realistically telling Kelsey Mitchell to just go and stay there. So now you've got Kelsey Mitchell screening down to Sophie Cunningham, who's telling Kelsey Mitchell just stay there. Aaliyah Boston trying to post up to nowhere. Caitlin Clark standing there. I don't know what she's trying to do. So the only way Caitlin Clark's able to get open is by sprinting to the halfway line, and we're now 11 seconds into the offense, and all we've got is no mismatch really in the post. Caitlin Clark with the ball at the halfway line, and all 5 players on one side of the floor. Like, what's going on? What's going on? And in the end, in this offense, there's nothing on. Aaliyah Boston is now looking for the ball in the high post with a situation where there's no advantage to be created by this. Aaliyah Nye did a really good job on Aaliyah Boston. And now you've forced Caitlin Clark into isolating Jewel Lloyd. And Caitlin Clark's not an isolation scorer. And she has to go and shoot a pull-up mid-range shot. That realistically is the best shot they could have gotten that possession. But with the lineup that the Aces ran, they ran a switch everything defense. And by
Okay, I wasn't gonna play the whole thing, but not saying he's wrong, because the fact of the matter is they should have went into a high pick and roll. Kelsey Mitchell should have never brought her man down there in front of Aaliyah Boston. Should allow Aaliyah Boston to use the pick and roll herself, where Colson would have had a little bit more freedom to get the ball to back. Kelsey Mitchell seems to me that she doesn't understand the assignment. It's like she starts to look lost on the floor. And then what she does, Kelsey Mitchell drags her man all the way over where Sophie Cunningham was, instead of stay out on the wing, allow Sophie Cunningham to be in the corner where Sophie Cunningham could have dragged back door if need to be for an easy bucket, out of the pick and roll, where it could have been a great possession, while Caitlin Clark still has her man up high. But once the shot clock winds down and Caitlin Clark gets the ball back, she has to create a shot where nobody is moving at all. Nobody is moving. But one thing I wish Mick had did in his video is break down the first half, that what happened, what went well for the Indiana Fevers. I mean, the Indiana Fever instead of the negative part, the bad part of it. Because if you looked at the first half and see what was working, they got away from it in the second half. So you can't say it's so much of the offense or the motion offense which is bad because they had success in the first half. That got them what, a 10-point lead, and they had a 6-point lead going in the second half. So there was some success early on. So you can't say the offense, the motion offense is bad. It's just the the language and the understanding and the IQ of some of these players on this team that can't comprehend. Because if you're gonna use Caitlin off ball, you still have to run a high pick and roll with Sid Colson or whoever. Now, I think if they had Ari McDonald in that situation with Sid Colson and Caitlin Clark on the floor, I think the movement could have been a little bit better because Ari is a little bit more aggressive. She would have probably put pressure and got the pick and roll, and probably was she probably would have been able to give Caitlin the ball and screen her man, Caitlin's man off of her, where Caitlin could have had more a better open space to operate, and probably could have got the ball in a pick and roll with Aaliyah Boston. So Sid Colson is not, her thinking acumen is not really that part, is really that part. So before I even go any further, I'm gonna allow you to listen to what Carter had to say, because I think Carter has the perfect perception of this Indiana Fever than just anybody else just ranting and raving and just blame it on the offense. It doesn't matter what the offense is. It's just you have to run sets out of that pick and roll to help the offense flow a little bit better when you have someone like Caden Clark that has so much gravity. Take a listen.
Basketball well, but I'm not going to blame this loss on Caitlin Clark, even though obviously they would have won if she would have shot the ball well. My whole thing is you were up when Caitlin Clark wasn't shooting the ball well. You had a double-digit lead in that first half while Caitlin Clark was clanking every single three. She was 2 for 9 from the field, and you were still confidently beating this Aces team. The reason you lost was not because Caitlin Clark didn't score the basketball. The reason you lost is because you stopped doing what was working. What works for the Indiana Fever, especially in that first half, was a pick and roll with Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston. All you have to do is have a pick and roll at the top of the key. Off that pick and roll, 2 defenders are going to go with Caitlin Clark, leaving Aaliyah Boston to have a wide open lane. That is just the play you should go to every single possession. But how come we never go to it in back-to-back possession? We'll go to it one possession, the next possession we don't go to it. Why not? Stephanie White, why not? It always works. 2 defenders are always going to go with Caitlin Clark. There should never be a play where Caitlin Clark brings the ball off the court and then she passes it and she runs off the playoff ball. Every single possession, there should be a screen, whether it be a Aaliyah Boston, whether it be a Kelsey Mitchell who's going to cut, whether it be a Natasha Howard, literally any player. They set Caitlin Clark a screen at the top of the key, and off that, your whole offense should function. I don't care what Stephanie White wants to do with this motion offense thing. Literally, all you have to do every single time you have a practice is worry about what to do after the double team. That should be your whole offense. Your whole offense should be screen at the top of the key, and then we have a whole bunch of sets, which is setting us up to score in different scenarios after that double team. Because Caitlin Clark is always going to get double teamed off a screen with any player. Use that to your advantage. You never see the Golden State Warriors not using Steph Curry's gravity to their advantage. So how come you always see the Indiana Fever never using Caitlin Clark's gravity to their advantage? Caitlin Clark oftentimes will bring the ball up the court more than when she actually receives a screen. She passes the ball, doesn't even receive a screen, runs the play off ball, then gets the ball back when it's like 8 seconds left on the shot clock. Who wants to see that? Nobody. Caitlin Clark fans don't want to see that. Caitlin Clark doesn't want to see that because that's not her game. Nobody wants that. Have a high ball screen with Caitlin Clark and somebody every single possession. It was working so well in the first half. So how come we totally went away from it in the second half? Was it because of the couple turnovers Caitlin Clark got? She might have had maybe 2-3 turnovers in a stretch in the game when they were trying to go to Aaliyah Boston. So does that justify you not going to what got her 6-7 assists in the first quarter? No, it doesn't. You go to it every single possession because it works. I kept saying it in the live stream today, but if it ain't broke, broke, don't fix it. So how come every single time the Indiana Fever have something that's working, whether it might be the pick and roll like it was in this game, whether it be running the floor like it was in this game, because early on they were faster than they were later on in this game. They always have things that are working. They always have players who are hot and they don't go to. Like Caitlin Clark might have 9 points in a 38-second stretch, and then you'll see them come out in the next quarter and not give her the basketball. You'll see them bench her. Why do we do this? When you have momentum, when you have a lead, you need to continue doing that, and that's going to win you the game. Obviously, the other team is going to adjust, but when the other team adjusts, that does not mean you totally stop attacking the flaw that the other team has on defense. Okay, yes, they tried to stop Aaliyah Boston from getting the ball on the low post in this game, but she should have just found another way to try to get her the basketball, because there's no reason she to have 18 points in the first half and 8 in the second half. She had nearly 20 in the first half. She ends off with 26 points. How come Aaliyah Boston was on pace for a legacy game and then we stopped giving her the basketball? How come Kelsey Mitchell went on a crazy stretch in that third to fourth quarter where she was hitting some big time shots and then you didn't even see her getting the ball anymore down the stretch? How come early on in the game you were playing decent defense interior wise against the Aces and then you decided to just allow them to get right by you and get easy layups at the cup every single time? How come we keep doing this? Do you want to win a championship or do you want to just be a mediocre team? Because right now the Indiana Fever are going to make the playoffs. They're probably going to win the next game. They can win games. They can compete with these teams as long as they can pull it off offensively. But is that going to win them a championship? No, it's not going to win you a championship. You can't win a championship without defense, for one, because this Indiana Fever team has absolutely none, man. They always allow the other team to beat them in the paint, man. I say it in every single one of my videos, but we have no interior defense. None. Every single team this Indiana Fever team plays gets infinite points in the paint. It needs to be worked on, but what can you do? Like, all you can really do is bring in players who can actually play interior defense. There's nothing you can do with the personnel you have now. Aaliyah Boston, you can't make her into a defender that is going to be able to guard a player like a Jonquel Jones. She cannot defend without fouling. Yes, the refs suck. Yes, the refs are incompetent. They call crazy fouls on Aaliyah Boston, but she gives them fouls to call. She always is touchy. She can't defend without fouling. She just can't do it. Natasha Howard is just weak. Just to be real with you, Natasha Howard just can't play interior defense. She's too small, too weak, not enough IQ. She just can't do it. DeWanna Bonner is in the same boat, just too weak. We haven't seen her out there, but she can't do it. Damiris Doncic can play interior defense. She's the best interior defender on the team, besides the Michaela Timpson, who never gets in the game. But Damiris Doncic can't play with Aaliyah Boston. They're too big. They're too bulky to play together. So the Indiana Fever can't really fix their interior defense, which is why this Indiana Fever team is probably not going to win a championship. And
All right, so Carter said a whole mouthful, and he is absolutely 100% correct on everything that he said. Not disputing what Nick said, but I have said this time and time in my videos. It is not the offense that Stephanie Wright is. It's the personnel. It's how they built this team. If they had went out and got pieces that complement Caitlin the right way, this team could have took off long time ago. You can't be a running team if you have players that can't run. Period. Natasha Howard slow. DeWanna Bonner slow. Sydney Colson slow. Bree Turner half slow. You can't not have these players running that type of offense when you have the number one person to push the pace. If Caitlin Clark was on the Golden State Valkyries right now, they would have been the fastest. They're already a fast team, but they would have been the fastest. They would probably score 100 points a game because they had the personnel to put around Caitlin Clark. This Fever team last year was way better because you had a Timmy to run the floor. You had a Alyssa Smith running the floor. You had Lexi Hall running the floor. You had Kelsey Mitchell was able to run the floor, get out in the space because Caitlin Clark drove so much gravity. And then the thing that I didn't like yesterday was because people were saying, well, bench Caitlin Clark. For what? For what? You see what it looks like when she's not on the floor. So you're going to bench her, so you're going to risk the team to get blown out with her on the bench because she's struggling. Phil Jackson never sits Michael Jordan. Phil Jackson never sat Kobe Bryant. None of LeBron coaches sat LeBron James. So you're gonna sit your star player. You don't see Becky Hammond sitting Asia Wilson. That's nonsense to talk about benching Caitlin Clark because she's struggling. She's the Hey, when she's on the floor, she's struggling. She's still drawing gravity. But guess what? She got teammates on her team that ain't high IQ that don't know how to execute. I don't care if you ran a motion, a triangle offense, a read and react, any type of offense you want to run. If you don't have the personnel and the players with the high IQ, it don't matter. You people out here saying, well, guess what? Bring Lisa Blue in. Guess what? Lisa Blue can't fix this team. Amber Carson, Kelly, Kristoff, they looking at this roster now, and I'm sure they say we made a mistake. The only way they're gonna fix this roster right now, they're gonna have to let go some people. They're gonna have to find a way to get rid of. I don't care. Well, you cut Katie Lou and you cut Christy Wallace, and you still had to pay them. You might as well do the same thing with Natasha Howard. Go out there and grab somebody fast. And the main thing that me and Nikki on our live stream where we talked about a lot most, and we always talk about it. No interior defense. They don't have a big. That should have been the first thing they addressed in the offseason, getting a big to have interior defense. Carter just illustrated to y'all. Leah Boston can't play interior defense because she don't know how to play without fouling. This is why she gets in foul trouble. Yeah, some of the fouls are bad fouls, but she still don't know how to play without fouling. Natasha Howard slow, old, can't get up the floor. She only want to get her stats when it's convenient for her, and then she misses a bunch. She started missing a bunch in the second half. The thing about it is that this Fever team is so bad constructed. I don't care what offense you ran. You could run the UConn offense. You could run the Don Staley offense. This team has bad players that don't make sense at all. They don't make sense. They could have had, to me, I felt like say, okay, if you got DeWanna Bonner and you kept a Timmy, guess what you could have did? You would have been able to run a little bit better. DeWanna Bonner probably would have fit better because she has somebody to run. But even when she was in Connecticut, she didn't run that much because she had a Dejanay Carrington beside her, Alyssa Thomas beside her, and so whoever else was on that open. And then you got Brianna Jones that could run up and down the floor. The Fever don't have the personnel to execute certain things. The things that they work good with, they get away from it easily. They had this game in control from the first half. They change up quick. Soon as somebody get hot, they sub them out, put them on the bench, put somebody else in. You can't give everybody opportunities to be a star on the team. You just can't. Somebody has to sacrifice. And to me, I don't see Natasha Howard want to sacrifice her game. I don't see Kelsey Mitchell trying to sacrifice a little bit more. You got Lexi Hall and Sophie Cunningham. They sacrificing the way they play just for the better of the team. And I'm sure they're seeing other players that they're not doing it. You don't see Leah Boston doing it, and you got bad players. Bree Turner can't give you no points because she's not a scorer. She shouldn't even never been on a team, regardless of what her social media is. I don't even care about that. People just jump to all of that just to be talking. From a basketball standpoint, she should have been the last option to bring on this team. Because if you was going to get somebody her size and her athletic ability, she should have been able to score and play defense. They don't have that. This bench is really bad. This bench been bad last year, but guess what? They was able to run a little bit more. And no, Stephanie White is not worse than Chrissy Size because Chrissy Size couldn't even figure it out either. Chrissy Size couldn't even make this offense go if she had this opportunity today. Because she tried to handcuff Caitlin Clark herself. Caitlin Clark gonna have to take matters in her own hand and just say, hey, look, we got to play this way. until you start running high screening rolls out of them actions to have that motion offense or that read and react to work, it don't matter. You could sit here and say, well, let Caitlin have the ball in her hand. If these players don't understand movement, freedom of movement with the basketball, and you hear Stephanie White keep preaching this in her press conference, but guess what? These players don't think. It's like Natasha Howard got a hidden agenda. You know, she wants to be MVP. Sydney Colson just out there. Leo Boston. Kelsey Mitchell played the whole off season in China, fractured her finger. But then when she gets in the game, because to me, if Sid Colson is the point guard that come behind Caitlin Clark, why are y'all allowing Kelsey Mitchell to bring the ball up? Like I say, everybody can't be the star. Somebody has to sacrifice. And I don't see nobody on this team is willing to sacrifice, only but a few. Like, comment, and subscribe. Until the next episode, Live Wire Sports Media. You know what it is. If you don't know, now you know.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing. Live Wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't want to miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying.